Ben Bracewell. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize in advance. Ben Bracewell.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bracewell. I recently moved to South Carolina after I finished my time on active duty with the United States Army. One of the reasons I chose to move to South Carolina is because of the strong conservative values this state traditionally holds. The bill we're here to talk about tonight is called a Constitutional Carry Bill, and I think it's well named. We have a constitutional right to own and carry weapons without asking the government for permission. When I signed up for the Army, I took an oath. I believe it's very similar to the one that our politicians take when they enter office. I'm not sure how many of them paid careful attention to what that oath says, but I get the feeling that some of them misinterpret or don't understand, support, and defend the Constitution the way that I do. Amen. Once you take that oath, you're bound by your honor to defend the Constitution for the rest of your life.
That's right.
Yeah. The Second Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights. The Constitution doesn't give us those rights. They're God-given rights, and they're guaranteed by the Constitution. How is it the government's job to tell me that I can't protect myself or my family? During my time in the military, I was trained on the M4 rifle, the M9 pistol, the M249 squad automatic weapon, the M250 caliber machine gun, and a variety of other weapons. I also did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and I carried a weapon every single day. And I get back to the States, and I'm told I can't put a snub-nosed 38 in my pocket without raising my hand and asking permission from the government. For those of you on the other side, people keep on asking, what are you afraid of? Well, other than a tyrannical government, there's not a whole lot in this world I am afraid of. Right now, our government says they have control over whether or not I can carry a pistol, and they're trying to gain more control over my constitutionally guaranteed God-given rights. Constitutionally guaranteed right to defend myself against criminals on the street, criminals in Colombia, or criminals in Washington, D.C. It's about freedom, it's about personal responsibility, it's about the Constitution. In closing, I'll tell you the same thing I'll tell anybody I talk to. If you don't know about firearms and you want to be able to defend yourself, I will volunteer free of charge to help you find one, help you find ammo, and these shooters know that's a big promise right now. And I will train you to use it. And I will take as much time as you need to make sure that whether you want to learn just the fundamentals of shooting or if you want to learn tactical application, I will free of charge teach you how to use a weapon so that you can defend yourself. It's our right and it's our responsibility. Thank you.
Chris Swanson.
I'm flabbergasted that you guys are bringing this up, this bill in South Carolina. My hopes really gone up dramatically. The point I wanted to make out was that everybody is entitled to their opinions. Nobody is entitled to their own facts. And the facts are that every time we have restrictions on our gun rights, gun control, tell us you can have a green gun, but you can't have a blue one, or you can have one with so many clips, or you can carry it. Every time you do that, crime goes up. Period. Always. Don't believe me, check out the gun control places like Chicago and New York City and Washington, D.C., where we lose more people than we've lost in the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War combined on our soil. So here's a few facts. Since the 1970s, crime, both gun crime and violent crime, have gone down. You know why? Because there's over 300 million guns in the hands of the citizens of America right now.
That's right. Yeah.
The more that goes up, crime goes down. Period. You can go to the FBI's own statistics, and that's what they tell us. Now, if you vote yes on S115, you'll go a long way towards stopping Sandy Hook, the Batman shooter. None of these occur in non-gun, how do you say this, non-gun, whatever. You know what I'm saying. This is not a Democrat or a Republican issue. It's a constitutional issue. And if you vote for this, you're voting for the Constitution. And if you don't, you're against the Constitution. And we're going to put your name on the list. So in conclusion, only 3 minutes. Okay, good. This is probably the most important thing we can talk about. The Second Amendment is what our entire Constitution stands on. If it goes down, we're done.
You got that?
And that's a fact.
Linda Callahan.
This is better than friction with the Cheshire Cat watching. Well, I think thank yous are in order this evening before I say a word. This young lady met me at the door with this beautiful grin on her face, and I just knew I was in the right place. And all of these policemen, every one of them, were courteous and kind. That means a lot from your... I carry a pink 38 Special. I'm told by my husband, who teaches concealed weapons permit classes, that a gun has two enemies, rust and politicians. And I'm going to tell you that I am proud to be an American. I'm proud to be a grandmother who's taught her children to carry and her grandchildren to carry. Friends and neighbors alike. We've seen little old ladies who were crippled because they were hurt being arrested or being molested. We've seen people who were scared to death brought their handgun in a basket because they were afraid to carry it. They didn't know how. And that's what I'm worried about today, is who is going to teach people how to properly carry and be responsible to carry. So I'm really worried about that. So is there a provision, will we have one, where we can be assured that if someone has a weapon, that they know how to use it? I promise you, it is more than point and shoot. I'm left-handed, I'm so left-handed, I'm pitiful. I bought a left-handed gun. I did that. I want to make sure that somebody does something to teach these people how to use their gun properly. I got 2 more minutes. What y'all want to hear?
Will you teach them for free?
We do sometimes.
Thank you.
We do sometimes.
Teach them in public school.
We're not in business, excuse me, we're not in business for the money. We are in business for the opportunity to change people's lives.
There you go. There you go.
And you can change people's lives. So I ask you, have you considered that?
I'll be glad to respond. We usually don't get involved in these, but this is the second time we've had a question. This is the 3rd meeting. So basically, the bill says that, you know, with liberty comes responsibility. I'm a firm believer that training is important, and I think it's good that people be safe, but I don't like the state telling me what I have to do to a certain point. James Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to begin by thanking you and the other South Carolina senators present here tonight for holding this hearing here in the city of Greeville tonight. As you are already aware, the topic of gun carry laws is more emotional than most. I would like to accomplish two things in my remarks tonight. First, I'd like to add my support to the idea behind the legislation under review. Second, I'd like to suggest some necessary improvements. First, let's consider the cold, hard facts on the ground. There is absolutely no data consistent with the idea that lawful gun ownership leads to more crime. In fact, as gun ownership has increased over the past 15 years, violent crimes have decreased by over 50%, according to FBI crime statistics easily available online. During the same time period, which is essentially the 15 years following their sweeping gun bans, both the United Kingdom and Australia both saw their violent crime rates, as chronicled by their own home offices, increase by over 50%. This stands in stark contrast. The Huffington Post, among others, have claimed that no mass shootings have been stopped by concealed carry permit holders, but, as always, the devil is in the details. The statistics used specifically excluded any crime in which there was not a minimum number of casualties. But even a first grader can see the problem in this. If the assumption being challenged is that lawful gun carrying stops murders, it makes no sense to bar from consideration all incidents in which the murder was stopped. And the statistics backing the benefits of concealed carry are numerous. The most commonly cited is John Watt's "More Guns, Less Crime." And because of this popularity, many studies have attempted to disprove Watt's thesis. But the common thread is remarkable. The conclusion of the opposition, not the support, is that at worst, concealed carry laws lead to no change in crime. Now, more specifically to the topic at hand. If concealed carry as it already exists is a good thing, then wouldn't we want to continue down that path? After all, it is indeed the constitutional right of the people to, quote, keep and bear arms. Last time I checked, a, quote, inalienable right didn't require a permit to exercise. Some have suggested that a legitimate comparison is our driver's license requirement. But unlike the right to keep and bear arms, driving a motor vehicle is not a constitutionally protected right.
Amen.
Secondly, I'd like to suggest a few improvements to the legislation under consideration. While the intent should not be faulted, there are a few areas which need to be addressed. The first two are merely housekeeping issues. A cursory reading of the bill revealed a place in which the, quote, permit language was not struck out. The end of section 23-31-225 reads, as amended, and have this permit revoked for 5 years. The court cannot possibly revoke a permit which does not exist. A more thorough reading noted that section 23-31-220, letter B, is amended in part 2 to strike the word, quote, concealable from the text, posting of a sign stating, quote, no concealable weapons allowed. However, the sign requirements in section 23-31-235 retain the original sign language text reading, no concealable weapons. You can't follow both at the same time. Please note, it is incredibly important that section 23-31-235 not be modified except to remove the word concealable, in order that the protection of lawful carrying citizens against after-the-fact posting of signs be retained. The second is a far more serious issue. While it is all well and good to not require permitting within the state of South Carolina, many of the concealed weapons permit holders in our state rely on the permit laws of other states recognizing our permits as valid while traveling, much like I rely on North Carolina's recognizing my South Carolina driver's license when I drive to Charlotte. Constitutional carry and the issuance of concealed weapons permits need not be mutually exclusive. It would make more sense to allow the permits to be acquired optionally, but not mandatorily, for those who desire to carry while traveling in other states, like when I go visit my family in Pennsylvania. In conclusion, I would like to strongly urge this committee and the full South Carolina State Senate to pass this bill, but only after time has been taken to clean up the loose ends I've already mentioned. And as I understand the committee process, I believe that those amendments can be made before it even exits committee. So you have that opportunity to make those corrections. As one state senator already said, he would not vote for it unless that change was made. So that would actually increase its chances of being passed. Thank you for your time. I welcome any questions.
We can't amend until it gets in the subcommittee process, but we've got the amendments drafted on what you mentioned, so I appreciate that. But please keep an eye on the legislative website as it changes.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bill Bledsoe?
I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I'm going to give a little speech here about who the wolf at the door is, and it's not you guys. You guys are doing a tremendous job listening and trying to correct something that was created a long time ago by politicians that never should have created it. So anything I say here is trying to warn you guys of the criminality of some of the politicians in our past. Our founding fathers knew that there would always be criminal politicians at our doorstep. That's why they created the Bill of Rights and Article 1, Section 20 of the state of South Carolina Constitution. The Constitution states that no politicians may make any laws that restrict our rights to carry guns. That's our state constitution, and that's what the Second Amendment states too. You guys and no legislators may make laws that will infringe on us. Okay, so it's our Constitution. The Constitution protects all of us, our civil rights, from criminal politicians. A criminal politician I define as somebody who is trying to take our civil rights for a purpose. A lot of times it's just for money. Sometimes it's for slavery. But it's always for a monetary purpose when somebody steals our civil rights. And that's what we need to look at. These are the criminal politicians. Our forefathers spoke of these criminal politicians. Patrick Henry said, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel." Thomas Jefferson, "The strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is as a last resort to protect themselves against tyranny in the government." George Washington, "A free people ought to be armed." George Mason, "To disarm the people is the most effectual way to enslave them." Regarding Richard Henry Lee, to preserve liberty, he's initiator of the Declaration of Independence. "It is essential that the whole body of the people always possess arms, be taught alike, especially when young, how to use them." Let's look at some of the criminal politicians that we've had. And again, it's not you guys. I mean, you guys are doing a great JMO job. Listen to us. Okay, Joseph Stalin, 1929, "If the opposition disarms, well and good. If it refuses, disarm. We shall disarm it ourselves if it refuses to disarm." He murdered 61,911,000 so-called dissidents. Let's look at Mao Zedong. "All political power comes from the barrel of a gun," he said. "The Communist Party must command all the guns. That way no guns can ever be used to command the party." Guilty of murdering dissidents, 45,312,000 dissidents. Adolf Hitler, "The most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to allow the subject races to possess arms." He killed 13 million dissidents. They were murdered. Let's look at South Carolina. I mean, we all know slavery. Slavery was just getting rid of the civil rights of blacks. So we all know that this is part of our history. Let's look at after the Civil War, carpetbaggers, again, criminal politicians came in and took over our state government. They created a Negro militia, and they actually forced over the votes, took over the voting rights of the people. Okay, well, the people decided that was not good. 200 farmers came at the battle, or the Hamburg city and overthrew the state militia, killed, massacred them. It's called the Hamburg Massacre down near Athens. It's because of the criminal politicians there, we entered into a new era of criminal politicians. This is the Jim Crow era. This is where we created laws to take away the civil rights of the blacks. And that's what this gun law is. This is a remnant of the Jim Crow era. It was, if you can make laws that'll keep somebody that has to go through some sort of schooling to take it and pay a fee, get fingerprinted, well, you can keep it, control it, and keep it out of the hands of blacks. That's what these laws are that you guys are trying to get rid of. So my time's up.